So we'll be talking about strings again, just like I think we started last week. So we're talking about strings again, and if time permits, we're talking about uh other data types or other ways you can store things in Python. I believe you're going to enjoy this. And yeah, after that, we'll do some exercises if time permits. But if time doesn't permit, then I'll give the exercise will be given as practice assignment for us to work on. I mean, who is that? Oh, Papa, welcome. We waited for you guys. So we're just starting. You haven't missed anything. So back to my slide. Yeah. So that is that about that. But just to quickly, since we started with string in the last class. So let me quickly. Yeah. So what I was saying is, I said string is same thing as a text. If you want to send a message to someone, say or let's say who's not on the call today now? Joanna is not on the call. So let's say you want to test him to say why are you not on the class or something. That message is a text. But if you want to give it to Python if you want to give it to Python, you can write a program that sends a message. Yeah, that's very possible with programming as well. You can write a program that sends message. So if you want to do that, your message is going to be a string. You're going to define it as a string. If I say, why are you not in class? Python would not, hold on, please. Yeah, can you hear me, please? Can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, right. So say we wanted to test Yano to ask why he has not been in the class. If we just write it like this, Python doesn't understand this. Python will not see this as a test. What will happen is if I actually do this now, Python will tell me that syntax error, which means it doesn't follow the rule of how you write Python command. And what is actually going on behind the scene is Python is seeing this y as a variable. It is only a variable that you create without having to put a quote or anything. Do you remember that? You remember how you create a variable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is only a variable when you're writing a command. It is only a variable. It is only a variable or a keyword. Only a variable or a command. Command and keyword, they are similar. They're almost like the same thing. Command, keywords are special. They are words with special meaning in Python, which is something as commands, basically. So it is only a variable or a command that you write in Python. Or even numbers. Numbers, but you already identify, you know when you are writing a number, right? So it is only a variable or a command that you don't put in quotes. So now when we did this, when we say y, let's say we even wanted to just say y. Python will tell us that y is not defined, that it is seeing this y as a variable. And because we've not defined it, we've not assigned the value to y, so it is giving us an error. But to actually tell Python that, okay, this is supposed to be treated as a test, that is, we want you to treat this as a test, then it has to be in quotes. Say, why are you not in class? This is the message. This is the test. The value that we want to send to Yuano. We are not assigning it to any variable now. So if I run this now, you see, Python didn't raise any error. Because Python understands that, okay, you are giving me a value. We are literally just typing out a value of the type string. That is the way Python identify that this is a string value or this is a message, a text, is when you put it in quotes, either single quotes or double quotes. And I said the definition of a string, when I gave you the other day, I said it is let me just come here. So I said it is a sequence of, I'll come back to this. I said it is a sequence of numbers, letters, numbers, letters, and any character. Sequence, you know what sequence is, right? There is order of something in order.
Yes.
So it is a sequence of either number. It can be an alphabet. It's a sequence of characters, and the character can either be alphabets, can be a number, can be any symbol or any sign. And the way Python takes it as a string is when you have it in quotes. That's what I'm saying. There must be it. I mean, you must have it within either a single quote or a double quote. So look at the examples I gave you now. Why don't skeletons fight each other? I mean, this is a joke. So I'm assigning it to a variable called joke. I'm storing it in a variable called joke. But this is the text, the string itself, which is why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have guts. So this is a string, and the way Python identify it to be a string is because you have it in quotes. Same thing as this cat, same thing as ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me now ask something. If you want to store, let's say you want to create a variable for your phone number now, for your phone number. How do you think is ideal to store it? Is it as a number or as a string? Anybody?
As a string.
Why should we do it as a string?
Because if it's a variable, they're gonna take it as a mathematical way, and yeah.
That reason is not valid. Anybody else? Why should we have it as a string instead of a number? I mean, let me, for example, this is my number. Or let me just mix it up now. That's not my number. So yeah. If I put it like this, Python is going to allow it actually. Python is going to allow it. And if I do print phone number, see, it will always get printed. It's going to work because this is a number. But one thing is, I said, hey, how do you decide when you have situations like this where you have, let me also do this. We can also, remember, you can have your number as a string. That is, you can have it in quote. You can have 23 in quotes. In this case, it is no longer a number. It will no longer have a property of a number. It will no longer have a property of a number. So if I press this, it's going to work. I mean, 23 as a test. Just the same way when you are testing someone, you can include numbers there, right? But those numbers would not have the properties of a number per se. You may not be able to do some, multiplication or division on them. That is the same thing that is happening here. But when I asked whether we could have saved our number as a string or a number, uh, the logic that would have, or how do I put it now? The reason for whatever decision you make should be based on whether you want to do mathematical computation on it, whether you think of doing a mathematical computation on it later on. Because this is a phone number. In the real world, you will hardly do division or multiplication of phone numbers, right? It doesn't make sense. It is supposed to be a text. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Phone number, in most cases, you will hardly want to do a mathematical operation on it. So it doesn't need, it doesn't need it to have that number property, that numeric property. Yeah, let me put it that way. So it would be ideal to just have it as a string. And how do you tell Python to take it as a string or as a text? You have to put it in quotes.
You have quotation marks.
Quotation there, either single or double quotes. So, and please don't mix, I think you're mixing a variable with all these data types. You are mixing them together. A variable is just a label, like a name. When you're defining a variable, it's a way of saving or storing a value in Python. In this case now, this string value here, this non phone number here is the value that we are saving in phone number. And if you remember when we were talking about variables, we talk about some rules. I will upload the slide as well in case you need something to fall back on. But we talk about some rules. But when you think of variable, just think of variable as a way of storing values. So in this case, this is they are two. I mean, they are entirely different. They are very different. What you have on the right hand side there is a value, which can be anything. Can be a string, or just a number, or even just a decimal. You can have age. Let's say you can say 23.5. That's my age or something. These are numbers. The value here, in this case, now the value that we have here, the value that we are storing in a variable called age is 23.5 and is a number data type. The type of value we are storing now, in this case, in Python is called float. Or if you don't want to, if you can't remember float, you can just take it as a number. And same thing as if you just say 24. The type of this value here is also a number. But when you have it when you have it in quotes, it is now what? Or no, let's say let's say 24 and this, yeah. It is now a string.
Text.
Yeah, a text. Yeah, it is now a text or a string. Text or string. So text and string are the same thing in Python. But the name, the name that makes you sound like a professional is when you call it a string. So they are the same. Now it is a string. And it no longer has a property, it no longer holds the property of a number. Do you get what I'm saying? Properties of a number is that you can do multiplication, you can do division, you remember modulo, right? The modulo operator. You can do modulo operation on it. But now that you have this number, you have it in quotes, you've altered the property, and now it will be treated as just a text, not a number. Please take note of that. It's very, very important. So that is that about, yeah, and there are some problems you're likely going to encounter when you're practicing, when you want to practice what's it called? When you're trying to practice with strings. And okay, yeah. Before that, let me also point it out that there are some what's it called? Okay, maybe I can even put that on hold. But there's a point here that says the asterisk. What is the asterisk operator? What does this operator stands for?
Multiplication.
Multiplication, exactly. So you can also, on a string, when you have a value, a string value, when you have a string value, this multiplication operator and addition operator works. It works, but not just as you would expect of a mathematical value. I mean, a numeric value. You can also do, there's a way, I'll call it a trick. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But just know that this multiplication operator and this also works. I will demonstrate that to us later on. And that about that, I said there are problems you're likely going to encounter when you're defining your strings. And the most popular one is when you are defining your string. When you are defining your string, let's say let's say MSG, message. When you're defining your string, most of the time you forget your quotes. But let's say you did not even forget your quotes. You have your opening quote like this and you say, I am expecting you. Most of the time, you would forget you see there's an opening quote here, right? Most of the time, people forget to put an ending quote. And you see, it says syntax error, undeterminated string literal detected at line 1. So it's basically just telling you that I can't find a closing, what's it called? Sometimes it could have, I expected the error could be something like this, EOL, Y scanning string literal, which basically means end of line, Y scanning string literal. That is, I've reached the end of this line and I can't find an ending quote. So take note of that. When you make that mistake, you know that, okay, maybe you've not try and check it well to see that you've actually put the right. For every opening, for every opening quote like this, either single or double quotes, there should also be a closing one. For every starting quote, there should be an ending quote. And another mistake people make is when you, let's say we have something like this. Let me say, Janelle said, comma. Of course, I mean, in English, you have to quote, when you said Janelle said, that means you want to quote Janelle, right? You want to quote a statement she has said in the past. And it has to be in quote also. I am not, I mean, Janelle said, I like Python class. Is that true? Okay. So this now, Python is going to, this is actually, I mean, correct to an extent. It follows the rule that what I told you, that I said, anything you put in quotes, for every opening quote, or in this case, let me even use, okay, let me just leave it like this. I said, for every opening quote, there should be an ending quote. And if you look at it, there's an opening quote here. And we can disregard this because it is supposed to be part of the test. So this is the quote, but this is the ending quote. The last quote here is the ending quote, which follows the rule that I told you about. But Python is going to raise an error saying invalid syntax. And why is that? It is because from this, when we are declaring our string, let me paste it here again. When we are declaring our string, Python, the only thing Python sees here is Janelle said, comma, space. Python is only seeing this, what I highlighted here, is only seeing it as the valid text, as this valid text value, string value there. It is seeing this, every other thing outside, after this code, it is seeing it as irrelevant, as if they are not supposed to be there. And why? Remember I said the way Python identifies your string is, it looks for an opening quote and an ending quote. So Python is seeing this quote, this one here in this position here, as the closing quote for this string value. That is why it raises an error. And now, how do you now avoid something like this? If you need to use a quote, like if you need to say in your string statement or in your string value, you need to include quote itself, which you already know has a special meaning in Python. If you need to include it like this, then it will be ideal. One way you can solve the problem is to not use it when you know that you're going to be using double quotes inside your string value. Then it makes sense to now use a single quote to define your string. Do you see what I've done there? So if I run this now, Python is not going to raise an error and I can print my message. Now you see it says, Janelle said, I like Python class. So what happened now here is, we are using a very different, we are not using the double quote. Now, since we know we are going to be using the double quote as part of our string value, then it will make sense. And we know that Python is going to find it confusing if we had defined our string in double quote as well. So one way you can solve for that kind of problem is to, use a single quote instead. And similarly, if you know you're going to be using an, let's say we want to define another variable that says, because you want to say, give me, okay, let me just say, I don't know, is that correct? Is the spelling of Jessica correct? So give me Jessica's, let me say email. Give me Jessica's email. The problem with, this is going to raise an error as well. And the problem is similar to what we encountered here. Because now, Python is saying just give me Jessica. It is taking this quote here as the end of this single quote. It is seeing it as like it is the end of this string value. And it's thinking that, okay, this S email and the rest is not relevant. It's not supposed to be there. That is why it's saying syntax error. That is, it doesn't follow the rule of writing commands in Python. And to avoid this, since you'll be using since you know you'll be using a single quote as part of your string value, then it also doesn't make sense to define your string using a single quote. So in this case now, it would have made sense to just define our string using double quotes, since we know we are going to be using a single quote as part of our string value. And if we do this, let me call this message 2 or message 1. See, there's no error, and if I print it, it works out fine. Is that clear to us?
No.
Anybody having any doubts?
No.
Okay. Now, where does escape character comes in? Where does escape character comes in? So remember, the problems we've highlighted now, I've shown you 2 ways you can avoid it. 2 ways you can, the mistakes that are possible and the ways you can avoid it. There's another way to avoid all these problems of single quotes, double quotes, whatever, if you need to use them. Let's say you want to have a big statement now. I want it to be during the last Python class. Jennifer, is the spelling correct? Don't mind me if it's wrong. Jennifer's mic, okay, was now muted. And then I said to her, mute your mic. Now, you see, like, this is my statement, and I've not defined it as a string actually, because you see, like, there's no starting quote here. So how would you, to have this working out fine, how do you think I can do it? You know, like, this statement is now more complex in a way. It's now more complex. You can see we have, as part of our string value, we have a quote. We have a single quote, and we even have a double quote inside one string value. So how can I make this to go? Like, to actually go, how can I make Python accept this? If we put,
Do we
if
put the opposite slash mark and then we add the apostrophe?
Okay, yeah, I think you remember what we did in the last class. So, but for anyone that doesn't understand that, what you just said is, she asked me to use an escape character, and I'll show you what an escape character is very soon. But just to show why this is not going to work, if we put this, you see that this is not like the test value. Everything here is highlighted green, and when it comes to this place, it is not highlighted green. So basically, what is happening again here is Python is seeing just this as the test, as the valid test. And it's not seeing every other thing here. This mute your mic is not seeing it as a valid test, and it's going to raise an error. Because Python is seeing this last quote here as the end of the string. Now, if we want to, remember I said when you have issues like this, then it makes sense to not use, what was it called? A double quote, to use a single quote or anything. If we use a single quote as well, and we come here, we put a single quote also as the ending quote, you see, because of the single quotes here, Python is just seeing this line as the only valid string value. In a situation where you now have those mixtures of single quote and double quote making up your string value, how can you avoid it? That is when there are 2 ways you can approach that actually. There are 2 ways you can approach that. That's when you use the escape character. And in this case, escape character is going to work because we have, let me do this. So if you put escape character here, escape character is what we call a backward slash or a backlash. Let me show you. We call it a backlash or called escaping. If you want to sound like a programmer, you call it escape character. Escape character. So it is this backward slash. Mind you, it is not the one we use for division. The one we use for division is always slanting forward. So this one is slanting backward. We call it backward slash or you can just call it backslash. So we use it as an escape character. And the way you use it is to just put it before. So basically, you're just telling Python that I know there's a quote, or I know there's a single quote here, but don't see this as the last, don't see this as the last quote, as the end of the string. That's what backslash there is doing. It's saying I know I've defined my string using a backward slash. Using a quote, a single quote. And now I don't want you to see the quote in this position as the end of that string value. Pick the next one. So now if to say there's another one here, if they say there's another slash here, another single quote here, then Python is going to see this one as the end of that string statement. But if we put another backward slash, we are saying, don't take this as the end of the string value. Pick the next one you see. And now, because this is the last single quote, Python is now going to see this as the end of that string value, and is not going to raise an error for you. So that is how escape character came in. So let me remove this. So now we've put an escape character here. And let me not assign it to a variable just to save time. So let me just run this now. There's an error again. What's that error? Can someone tell me what the error is? It's a simple thing.
Did you end? Wait, can I see the end of the thing? Did you end it with the same thing?
The end of what?
The commit. Thing.
I don't get what you're saying.
At the end of Mike, you're supposed to end with a single quotation mark since you started with a single quotation mark.
Exactly. There's no end. I didn't even specify end quotation here. You see, I started with a single quote, then we put our backward slash, of course. This is part of the statement. So there's no ending quotation, quotation. So that is why we have the error there. Awesome. So same thing again. So it would have worked fine if I put this ending quotation, because I started with a single quote also. So you see why it works fine. Now, let's now say similarly, let's say we don't want to define if we are not defining our string as using a single quote, let's say we are using double quotes. Of course, we also need to end it with a double quotes. And in this case now, we will not even be needing a backward slash for our single quote again, because this is going to pass. Python does not expect this to be the end of the string, because it's a single quote, and we are defining our string as with double quotes. So Python, we don't have issues with this, but we'll be having issues with these double quotes that we have as part of our string value. And in this sense now, it will make sense to use an escape character here to tell Python that don't see this double quotes, don't see it as the end of the string value. Also for this, we can tell Python that don't see this one, this is part of the string value, right? So we also need to tell Python not to see this one as the end. And now Python is only going to see the last one here as the end of the string. If I did not put this last one here, you see, the last quote will not be part of the string. But what's even the error now? It says, okay, there's even an error. There's even an error there. So it makes sense. It is also important to include it for that last one, because this is supposed to be part of the string value. So we also need to tell Python to escape it. And now Python is only going to see this last one here as the end of the string, and this as the beginning of the string. And if you run this, you see everything worked fine. During the last Python class, Jennifer, what happened? You see this escape character here is not supposed to be there again, but I don't know why. So then you get the point, right? If I print this, I don't expect the escape character to be there. During the last Python class, Jennifer's mic was not muted. Then I said to her, mute your mic. So that is that about that. Then I said there are two solutions you can, well, this is one, there are two solutions to this. The second solution is actually what works for whatever problem you think you can have. And that is defining your, what's it called? Defining your string in triple quotes. This is actually going to help you in whatever problem you can encounter while you're defining your string value. When you have three quotes, it can be either, triple single quotes or triple double quotes like this. You can define anything you want here. We don't even need. Sorry. Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. The way you can avoid all the problems I've highlighted there, the way you can avoid them is by using triple quotes. So you can also define your string. You can enclose your string in triple quotes, just like this. You say we have triple quotes starting it and triple quotes ending it. Like that, you would not need to use either escape character for anything, or even when you have like a single quote like this in your statement, you still will not need any escape character for it. This is going to work really fine. I'm coming. Undetermined string literal. Okay, I'm coming. I don't know why this is.
I think it's because you added an extra quotation at the end. Maybe.
Yeah, it's supposed to work. It's supposed to work. But okay, yeah. I think I know why it doesn't work. I know why it doesn't work. Let me use 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Can you see that clearly? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that is one way you can avoid all this. Instead of triple multiple quotes, let me also try something. Let me try something to be able to arrive at let me make this one in. Let me see if this is going to work. Okay. Okay. So you can either use a double quote, a double triple quote, triple double quote or triple single quote. And just make sure you avoid having, if you think at the end of your character, at the end of your string value, if you think there's going to be like a quote there also, make sure it is not what ends your string value. Do you get what I'm saying? Why we had an error here was because the end of our string value itself is a double quote, and I'm also, putting everything in triple double quotes. So just try to avoid that. But one way you can avoid whatever problem you're having is just put everything in like a triple quote. Put them in triple quote. And even if you need to like probably, if you need to create a multi-line string value, let's say you want to write a letter now. You want to write a letter, and of course, that's going to include a lot of text. So you can, when you have them in three quotes like this, when you have things in your string value in triple quotes like this, you can continue in the next line. It also gives you you can continue your statement in the next line. In this case, let's try to say we want to write a letter. So I want to write a letter. Your address must be by the right, right? So you can say my address is in, let's say, I mean, it's been long I wrote a letter. I'm more used to email. But I think if I remember correctly, your address will be on the right-hand side, right? If I write
Yes, I think it's at the top right.
okay, yeah, let's say number 24. And I'm putting string is also part of my I'm also putting space as part of my character. So I can say number 24, Allen Avenue. Yeah, let me just put it that way. Then the next distance I can say yeah, I can now say dear sir. You see, as I'm pressing enter, it is not like seeing it as the end of my string value. I can, so if you even want to be able to do multiple line, multiple text, and all those things like that, you can say, okay, after we say dear sir, hope you are doing fine. I just wanted to say hi. Enjoy your day. Then yours sincerely, Gideon. So now if I put this, I've declared my variable as message now, and if I print my message, MSG, you see how it came out. I mean, I've not really formatted it well, but you can see the spaces and everything are accounted for. Everything came out fine. So aside from using this triple double quote or triple single quote, apart from using it to avoid any error you may have, possible errors you can encounter, it also allows you to it allows for multi-line string value. If you want to declare, if you want to define a string that extends to just one line. Before now, all the strings we've been defining are just a single line string, like a string value in just one line. But if you want them to extend to the next line or something, like intentionally want them to go to you want to be able to use enter in your string value. That is, you want another thing to be in the next line, something like that, then it also allows you to do that when you have them in triple quotes. If we do that with double quotes, let's say we have I am, and you press enter, it's going to raise an error for you. Or even if let's say you will put the ending distance, and you said I am, I am a man, comma, and you press enter, it's automatically run. But when you have it in triple quote like this, that is three quotes, starting three quotes and ending three quotes, you have it like I am a man, comma, you press enter. What happened? Sorry. That was you okay, sorry. Because I'm not at this point I need to assign it to a variable if I want to use it if I want to be able to use it in shell. Or let me even just avoid all this and just create or open into an existing file. Where was I? 52 minutes. Okay. After now, we can go on a break. Coming. What was my? Okay. Okay. And let me restart my shell. Okay. Yeah. So I was saying it's when you just have just know that when you have them in quotes, either triple quotes or triple double quotes or triple single quotes, then it allows you the freedom to also extend your string value into multiple lines. Is that okay? Is that clear to us?
Yes.
Okay, all right, awesome. And it says escaping strings can make them harder to read. Yeah, of course. So when you have to when you're using too much of an escape character in your string value, it may mess it up in a way somehow, like it may not be readable to you anymore. So it always makes sense to, when you are going to encounter similar, that kind of issue, instead of having to use instead of having to use a backlash or an escape character, you can just use more, multi-line strings. Yeah. The triple double quote or triple single quote is also called a multi-line strings. So you can just use the multi-line strings approach to, avoid that kind of an error. And yeah, there are tricks you can, okay, before this, I think we can go on a break, on a 10 minutes break, right? So there are tricks you can perform on your string. There are strings let me go to shell. It would actually, yeah. So remember I said the other time that the multiplication operation also works on string value, same thing as the addition operation. But the way they work on string values is quite different from how you experience them in for numbers. So when you use a plus operator on a string value, it actually, what it does, it is used to combine two or more strings together. Like in this case, you can see we are saying hello plus word, and it gives us a string, and it's going to give us a single string value. I will demonstrate that to us. It's going to give us a single string value called hello word. Same thing, when you do multiplication, you don't do it between two or more strings. You do when you that is, you do, sorry. Excuse me. When you are using the asterisk operator or the multiplication operation, when you are doing it on a string, it is called repetition. It is called repetition. And you do it between a string and a number, an integer for that matter, not just a number. You can do it with a floating number. That is, you can do it with a decimal number. It has to be an integer, a whole number, and positive one for that matter. So in this case, if you can see the example that we have here, we have a string value that contains hi and a space. That is I space. And we are multiplying it by 3. The operation is good. The operation in this case is no longer a multiplication operation. It is a repetition. And what it's basically going to do is it's going to repeat the string value, the number of times the number of times you're multiplying with. And let's quickly go. And of course, for the addition, it is not called addition. It is called concatenation. That is when you are combining two or more strings together to form a single string. It is called concatenation. And to just demonstrate that, we can say Chanel space. Remember, space is also a character. So Chanel plus Uano. I'm right in space. Sorry. I press enter prematurely. I mistakenly pressed enter. So all right. So I actually want to add up the names of everybody on this call. Jennifer, then space plus Jessica space plus am I correct with the spelling? Nana, then Papa. Who am I? I hope I'm not missing anybody's name. Yeah, okay. Let's just, I mean, it's an example, right? So if how many strings am I adding together here? How many strings do we have specified there?
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, exactly 6. So now you see, now when we do the concatenation operation on them, that is, we had them together, they came together to make just one single string that contains Janelle, Yohano, Jennifer, Jessica, Nana, and Papa. So you see how the plus operator works now. Basically, just add 2 or more strings together, very straightforward like that. Then that is why and of course, if this works for if it works for just the values alone, you can expect it to also work for variables. Let's say we have age is 34, phone number. Mind you, I'm making it as a string. I'm declaring them as a string. And I also have a phone number 81453456. I don't know who wants that. Then I can say, and if I say message, my name is Gideon. I want to specify my age here because my age is already in a variable, right? I can also add, I can add age. I can say I am dash, of course, and I can continue. Years old. I also say my years old, my phone number, or you can contact me on. I'm expecting a phone number, right? So I was phone underscore number. Oh God. Do you know what the error is? There's no addition operation here. I mean, I'm not adding. I didn't put a plus here. So that is why we had that error. So what I'm doing here now is I'm saying I want to create a sentence. I want to create a sentence from my age and phone number that we already assigned to a variable. And what I wanted to explain here is just that if you can do this for a value, remember when we were talking about variable, we said whatever a value can do, a variable can also do it. So far that, I mean, a variable is just like a representation of a value, right? So if I can add these string values here, if I can add them together like this, you also expect that if I had assigned Janelle, if I had assigned each of these names to separate variables, and I came here to now add them together, it's also going to work. So that's what I'm trying to explain. Yeah, in this case now, if I come and I say print message, you see, we have my name is Gideon, I am 34 years old, contact me on 81453, so on like that. So far the variable is storing a string value. You can also do the concatenation. It works on them. Always know that. So what I wanted to say was I said, if I say name 1 equals to this, I can say name 2 name 3 name 4, name 5. It can be any length actually. So for name 5, let me just put a science. Okay, yeah. To cover for Nana and Papa. So I can say print name 1 plus name 2 plus name 3, name 4 plus name 5. And if I press enter, you see, still have something similar. I mean, we still have them being concatenated into just a string value. So not just in this case alone, anything, whatever can work on a value can also work on a variable that holds that can hold or that holds that value or that holds the value of that data type. So that is that about the concatenation that is using the addition operator on a string value, 2 or more string value. And one thing that I should also point out is if you do this, if you had a text, like this too, let's say I want to specify my age, or let me just say my age is the years, right? If I say plus and I just say 34, it's going to raise an error for me. Why? 34 is a number. String, I mean, my age is a string. They are two different, their class, the class of value, their class of value is different, or otherwise called their data types is different. My age is a string, is a text. 34 is a number. So they are not compatible. We cannot concatenate them. One way to do that is to also convert this to a string. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Yeah. So one way
Yes.
to avoid that kind of error is to convert the number part of it also to a string. And you see, everything works fine. So concatenation cannot be done between a text and a number. It can only be done between 2 or more string or 2 or more texts. Please take note of that. It's very, very important. And yeah, that now reminds me, I wanted to tell us something before we even get started with string. So I also just wanted to chip this in. There's also, apart from, we've been using the print statement like in a lot of classes now. And I said the function of the print statement is to output something to us, right? Whatever you give to it is going to output it to you. It's going to show it to you, print it out onto your console. That is the work of a print statement. So commands like print like this, they are called inbuilt functions. They are functions, functions in the sense that they have a task they are doing. And the task of a print statement, of a print command, the task of it is to output something to you, output something, a message you give to it is going to output it back to you. So like that, similarly, we have other functions that are also doing specific tasks. And we call them inbuilt functions because they came with Python installation. That's why we call them inbuilt. They are part of Python. So that's why we call them inbuilt. But apart from print, there's another function called input, which is used to take something from the user. Print is going to print something out to you, like output something to you. Then input is going to take from you and use as part of its code. So let's say you want to write a program that asks users for their age. You use the input command, and this is how you use it. You can assign it to a variable. Let's say my underscore age. And just like every function, same way, after you specify the name of that command, you must have this open and close parentheses. And most of the time, it is inside this parentheses that you pass your message. Now, you said the work of input is to ask you, the user to, or the user of your program, ask them to enter something that you want to use in your program later on. So in this case, I want to ask the user to enter their age. I want to ask the user to enter their age. Then there's, as part of what you give to the input command, you specify what we call a prompt. That is a test to tell them what you are expecting them to enter. In this case, I wanted them to enter their age, right? So I'll say enter your age. And if I run that, if I just do this, you see, the next line, it says enter your age. And you can see my cursor blinking, expecting me to enter something before it can move on. So I can now say, let's say 54. And it's to show the importance of this, or to show how this actually works properly. Let's take it to a control V. Yeah. Then I can say print your age is my underscore age. What I'm doing now is I'm asking the user, or let me run this before we even start saying anything. So I'll press F5 to run this. So you see, it's saying enter your age. And when you click on it, I'll say 65. And you see, it says your age is 65. Let's now go back to the code so that I can explain what I've just done. So what I've just done is I've used this input command, this input function, to ask for the user's age. And whatever they entered is going to be stored inside this variable called my age. And now I can now use what has been stored inside my age, which is what the user is going to enter when the code is running. I now use it in another line of code, which is this print function, this print command, which is to display a message that says your age is whatever the user has entered, and to display it like that. That's just what I've done in this case. But you're able to see how I've used the string concatenation. How I've added what's it called, my message with what the user enters to make a complete program, a program that makes sense, that actually tells the user their age. So you can see that. So inputs, just take note of this. Inputs, this input command is also like, we always come in. Also, I mean, it's also going to come in handy for a lot of tasks and assignments that I'll be giving us. So that's how you use your inputs your inputs function. It is used to ask user for an input. Remember, let's say you want to build a game that, what was it called? Build a guess game now. Yeah, a guess game or something like that. That require you to require you to ask users for their inputs. You can also use the input function for that. It's basically just used to take things from the user, prompt the user to enter something that you can use later on. And you can, if need be, you can store whatever the user enters. You can store it in a variable like this to later use it in subsequent lines of code. So about that. There is another function, another inbuilt function called str, which is same thing as string, str. And we have another one called int float, like that. This function str, the work it does is it converts a number to string. Yes, it converts a number to string. You know, at this point, when I did this the other time, there was an error, right? I said my age is plus 34, but this 34 is coming as a number now. And I said concatenation cannot be done between a number and a string. So, and the way we're able to, bypass this error was to put 34 in quotes. But what if we want, let's say we have a variable here called, if we have this now, age equals to, say, 35, and I say let me do this. Yeah. And I do this, print my age is, and I want to use the variable instead of the number directly. If I do this, it's going to raise an error, of course, because I'm concatenating a number. Age is a number because it is storing a value called 35, which is a number, an integer. So it's going to raise an error. And I said to avoid that, we need to convert the number to a string. And to do that, it will require us to now come back here to put quotes. To put quotes 35 in quotes. But in this case, I don't want to change the data. I still want age to be a number. I want age to be a number. I don't want it to lose its mathematical properties, its numerical properties. And at the same time, I want to be able to use it in this line, in this print statement. So how can I do that? You can now use the function, the str function I told you about. The str function. And what that one does, like I said, is it converts a number, either a float, a decimal number, or an integer, a whole number like this. It's going to convert it to a string just at that moment alone. So you see the way I've called it? I call the function str, and just like every function, there must be an opening, open and close parenthesis after a function. So I said str, then you can see these open parentheses, and you can see this closing parenthesis. So inside it, I'm putting age, the variable storing 35, I'm putting it there. And what I have highlighted here, just this thing that I highlighted here, what is happening is, it is converting age at that point alone. It is converting age to a string. And if we do this now, you see, there's no error again. It says my age is 35. To see how the string method works, the string function works perfectly, let's say we have 87. You know, only a string is going to have a quote. If you run this code like this, only a string value will have quotes in it. So let's see. You see, I passed 87, which is a number. I don't have it in quotes. But when the output came out, you can see the output in quotes, which is saying it is a string. So this str is another function that converts your numbers to a string value. And that's one way you can bypass the error of saying you can add a number to a string. That is one way you can use to avoid that error. And also for now, moving forward to the repetition. So you can do, let's say Janelle asterisk 200. I want to repeat Janelle 200 times. You see? So this one, for repetition, it must happen between a string value and a non-string value, and a number, an integer. Remember, for concatenation, it must be between two or more strings, two or more string values. But for repetition, it must be between a string value and an integer. In this case, so you can, let's say we want to print out something now, we can say print hello space, multiply by, repeat it 10 times. See, we have hello here. So that's just how, those are like the tricks you can do to strings. Repetition, that is using the multiplication operator, it does repetition. And when you want concatenation, when you're doing addition of two or more strings, it is called concatenation. That is, it adds multiple string objects or multiple string values. It adds them together to make a string value. And also, if you want to be able to bypass the addition of a string value and a number, then you need to convert that number to string, which you can do either by, putting that number in quotes, or easily, if you just want it to make that, if you just want to convert it at that point where you are using it, or where you want to do the addition, if you just want it to be at that point alone, that the value will be converted to a string. Now you can use the string function, str, which is going to convert the value at that point is going to convert it to a string. Any question before we move forward? Unmute your mic. Any question?
No.
Is it clear?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right. So if I give you an exercise, you'll be able to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. I like that confidence. Don't worry. I'll give you a practice assignment. I will add to what you already have. So please make sure you submit the one you have already. Make sure you submit it on, I think Thursday is the deadline. Yeah, so please submit it on Thursday. Or not before Thursday. I think we should be doing a revision of it. All right, please. So we're likely going to be doing the correction on Thursday. So make sure you do it and submit on time. So another trick you can perform is a value embedding. Value embedding. And that one uses a special character. Remember your percentage sign, the modulo sign, right? And S. So values embedding is a way of embedding a value into a string. So the way you do that is, I'm coming. See, okay, so let me do it initial. Let me demonstrate it to you initial. Let's say you have let's say you say score. Your score in mathematics is 100. Like 100 over 120. Yeah, let's just say 100 over 120. And I want to say something like this. Let me just say message is my score in maths is %S. So, remember in when you're doing probably when you were in your elementary classes, when you're doing filling the gap. Filling the gap, exactly. So filling the gap, the part that what it says my score is in filling the gap, in the filling the gap sense, it would have just been my score is dash. And you ask, someone to fill it later on, right? So similarly, anywhere let's say we don't know what we are supposed to have here for now. Then instead of the dash, 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 the underline this thing, like the gap, you use a percent sign, percent S. So this is like a placeholder or something as the gap that you want to fill. And now, to fill that gap, you now use percent again, then open and close parentheses, and you specify what you want to fill inside it. In this case, I want score. I want to fill it with score. So if I put this in score, and I go on to the next line and I say print MSJ, you see what the output is. My score in maths is 100. And see what we had there. What we had in this message that I'm printing is my score in maths is %S. And we have something here again, percent, open and close parentheses, and inside it, we put what we want to fill into this position. Put it there. And when we are printing it, you see what we have the sentence, we have a correct sentence. So that is another trick you can perform on strings. And this one is called, what's it called? Value embedding. And this one, it doesn't just, it's not limited to just this thing alone. To, what's the data type of my score? What's the data type of score? Anybody, what's the data type of score? This is score. I've defined my score here. What's the data type?
A variable?
Data type. Score is a variable, but I'm asking for the data type, the class of value it is holding. When I ask you what is the data type of something, that means I'm asking for the category of value it is holding, or the category of value it belongs. This is a string. So it is, I expected it to say a string. The data type of score is a string. That's a category of data in a way in Python. A number is a data type. Though in Python, it is either called an integer or a float. The one with decimal is called a float. The one with non-decimal is integer. But anything you have in quote like this is a string data, is a data. Everything is a data, but this is a string data type. So when I ask you what's the data type of a score, you tell me the data type of the value it is holding, which is a string. So, and remember I said, let's make our score now, let's make score to be an integer now. That is, I want it to be storing 100. Or instead, let me still leave it that way. Score is now storing 100. It is no longer 100 of a string. And similar thing, where I said my score in maths is %s score. This is also going to work. You see, even though score is now of a different data type, it still works fine. We still have my score in math is 100 to make a statement. And now this, if you're actually thinking of it, this should now give you like two ways you can do, how do I put it now, like a concatenation in a way. Before now, another way, this same thing that I did, if I want to do it in another way, I can say my score in maths is, then a space, and I will say plus score. This one is going to raise an error for me. Why? Anybody wants to tell me why?
You cannot you cannot add two different data types.
Exactly. I cannot add a string to a number, which was the issue I was explaining here the other time. I cannot add a string to a number. Score is a number now. The data type of score is 100, which is a number, an integer. That's why it's saying int. So it's saying, the error is saying can only concatenate string, not an integer to string, which is something I've been saying, that you can only concatenate two or more strings, not a string with a number or another data type. So that is why we're having this error. And I said one of the solutions I gave was to be able to do this, to be able to bypass this error, then you need to convert score to an integer. To a string. That is, you need to put this score inside a string function like this. So by this, it's going to work. It's going to work fine. Or now another solution based on another trick that I've just shown you now is, even while score is still retaining its number property, now you can use the %s trick. %s, which is like saying my score in math is dash. And now, what do you want to put in that dash? You specify it by saying %, then open bracket, score, right? But don't forget the closing bracket for print. Remember, when you specify your print, there's an opening bracket here, so there must be a corresponding closing bracket. So that is for this one. And now if I do this, mind you, I've not converted score to number or anything. This is still going to work fine. My score in maths is 100. Do you get the trick now?
Yeah.
Did anybody find this confusing? Did anybody find this confusing? Like, tell me, let me know now. Do you need me to go over it again?
No, this is good.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So that is that about that. And for this percentage, it's not necessarily just one. I mean, it's not necessarily just one value like that. It's not necessarily just one value. You can have as many percentages, as many dash. Let's say my score in math is dash and uh what other thing? Yeah, it's dash. Let's end it like that. Unrelated. I am dash. I want to say if I'm happy or not. So I'll put another dash there. So if I want to fill that using the percent trick, after declaring my string, it must be followed by a percent sign and open and close parentheses. And of course, I don't forget for my print statement. So let's now come back to inside these percent parentheses here now. So the first placeholder, the first dash here, what do I want to put there? It is the score, right? My score in math is dash. What should be in this position? The first percent S here should be for score. Then inside this parentheses here, I will have whatever I need to put in the first percent S, I'll put it there. Then a comma. I am dash. This is either fine or sad, happy, or whatever, right? Because it is the second percent S, the second dash. So after the comma, then I'll put that also here. This one, I want it to be a value itself. So I'll say fine. Then if I press enter, everything works, you see. My score in math is 100. Unrelated, I am fine. I mean, of course, it's going to be related because 100 over 120 is still something. It's like 80% or 90%. Yeah. So, but do you get the idea of what I'm saying now? So you can have as many dash, that is as many percent S as you want, that you want to fill up later on. And of course, whatever number of dash you have in your string value that you want to fill up should correspond to the value that you are specifying in your, percent in your filler. Let me call this filler. If you have 3% sign that you three dashes that you want to fill up, then you must have 3 values in your filler when you're specifying your filler, and they should be in the same order as you want them to appear in your statement. So if I want fine to be here, I would just put fine first. Okay, sorry. Let me copy and paste. So let's say if I want fine to come first, even though it won't make the sentence won't make sense, and I want score secondly. So you see how it's going to appear. You see, my score in math is fine. Unrelated, I am 100. So the order in which the order that you specify inside is your filler should correspond to the order you want them in your statement or in your string value. Is that clear?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
okay, awesome. Awesome. I'll upload the slide also in case you want to have something to fall back to. Should we do these or not? No, let's not do this now. We'll do this later. I don't want to find confusing. So before now, we've only been talking about storing one value, storing one value, storing one value. If you realized, when you're declaring your variable before now, you can only store it in one, like if I do age, I can only specify one age, say 23. I cannot store the age of two people, say 23,45, or I cannot say 23,45. It's going to even raise an error. How can you store collections of items? Or how can you create a collection of items in Python? Collection of items, like, I mean, I believe you're an English person, right? So you understand what I mean by collection of items. Let's say I want to create a collection of my grocery. I want to go to a supermarket and I want to create like a collection of everything I'm going to buy there. I can, if you want to do it, let me say market list. Let me call it market underscore list. I want to go to supermarket. I want to buy veggies. I want to buy carrots. I mean, veggies is part of carrot, right? But don't mind me. Carrots. I want to buy. Which other thing do we want to buy? You just had a baby, so I want to buy Pampers, and I want to buy which other thing? Notebook. We can create them like this, but this is not efficient in a way. In the sense that, let's say we want them to be in order, like we want to order them in what's it called? We want to like prioritize them. We want to say, okay, these are everything I want, but if my money cannot afford all, then I want to order like the first three ones that are very that are prioritized, that are very important to me. Let's say they are carrots, notebook, and veggies. So I mean that means I'll have to like recreate these and order them correctly. Say carrot is first, and all these are not. I mean, it's actually a lot of stress in a way to me, and you also see the reason why. But Python also now allows us a way to actually store items, and even with this, you cannot say, what is the first? You cannot do something like, you cannot pick the items one by one. You cannot pick the items one by. If I do market list, if I print market list now, everything is going to come out. Like you still see carrot, Pampers, and notebook. But Python allows us one very, very great way of manipulating items, of creating collections of items in what we call it is called a list in Python. And some other programming languages, they call it array. And this one allows us to store items. Like it allows us to store items in the sense that I want to create a list of items I want to buy in the supermarket now. The way I want to do that is now my market list again. To do that, you have to put it in square brackets like this. If you want to create a list, a collection of items, it has to be in square bracket like this. And the first thing I want to store inside it is carrots. If I need to put another item, it has one item now. If I need to put another item, then I'll put a comma. Put that other item. Let's say the other item I want to put is notebook. In the order in which they are important to me. Then another one, I'll put a comma. I will say carrots. And let me say another one, I want to buy water. Or water. I think that's how they pronounce it in the US. Water. So water, then I'll put it there. Yeah. So with this, you see now, we have, how many string values do we have here? How many string values?
4.
4, exactly. And those string values are now like an item inside this collection. And I said this collection is called a list. And why is this called a list? It allows us to do a lot of manipulations in the sense that I can do something like this. In my list, or let's say in my bucket, you can also see this as a bucket. In my market list, what do I have? What do I have? What was like what's the first thing inside my collection? What's the first thing inside my collection?
Carrot.
Carrot, right? So I can do something like this. Market list. Market list is what is storing the collection. So I call market list. Then I put a square bracket again. See the two ways we've been using square bracket now. Then I put a number. I'll tell you what that number is now. Then I also close it with a square bracket. And if I do this, or let's say let me print this actually so that it will come out perfectly. You see, carrot came out. And what have I just done? I've done what we call indexing. When you have a collection of items, when you define it like this, you have the freedom to deal with each of those items separately. That is, you can pick them up. You can even add to your item. Something that wasn't possible with, when we are, when we do this, when we declare them like this as a string, as one string value, we were not able to extract, say, the most important one or the second, the less important one or something like that. We're not able to do those kind of manipulation. But declaring them like this gave us a lot of freedoms. Which one of them is extracting items one by one? That is, we call them traverse. We can go over our collection and pick out certain items, like see what we have in certain positions. So this 0 that I put here is what we call index or position. And carrot is what we have in the first position, right? Notebook is what we have in the second position. So I still have carrot again. Oh, I have 2 carrots. Okay. I think that's a mistake. But then we still have carrot in our third position. And in the fourth position, we have water. So when I put 0 here, it returned the first one. Let me do something else. Let me do another one. I want to extract notebook. And notebook is in the second position, right? But then I won't put 2. I'll put 1. You see, it returned notebook for me. If I do this again, carrot, we have another carrot in the third position. Or let me deal with water now. We have water in the fourth position. But I won't put 4. I'll put 3. And it will return water. So what these 3, 1, and 0, they are what we call index, or the position number of your item, the position number of your item. And why is it that we have? We always have to like subtract, like if you see the trend now, it is looking as if we always have to subtract 1 from the position. Like carrot is in the first position, right? We subtract 1. When we subtract 1 from it, we have 0. Notebook is in the first position. It's in the second position. We subtract 1 from it. And the index is when we specify 1, it returns notebook. It is not as if we are subtracting 1 or anything. The thing is that in Python starts counting from 0. Python starts counting from 0. And most of the programming languages are actually, they call them zero-based indexing. So Python is a zero-based indexing programming language. So when you have a collection like this, the first element is always in the 0th position. The second element is always in the first position. The third element is always in the second or the number 2 position. So that is why we have, when we wanted to access carrot, the first carrot, we specify 0 as the index. When we wanted to specify, to identify notebook, we put 1 there. And that's not just all the manipulation you can do. You can also, when you have a collection like that, you can also add to your collection. Let's say I want to add, remember, when I got to the supermarket, I saw, which other thing? Biscuits. And I said, I didn't include biscuits in my list. And of course, I need to keep record of everything. How can I add biscuits to my existing collection? Then I can do append. There's a method called append. Append. See the way I've called it? First of all, I call the, what's it called? The market list, which is what is storing my collection already, like my bucket. I called my bucket and I said dot append. Dot append is a method. It's like you can see it as a command also, but it is mainly used to add more items to your collection or to your list that you've created. So now if I do dot append and I say biscuits, oh God, I've forgotten the spelling of biscuits. Am I right? Is this how you spell it? Okay, awesome. So see the way I've done it, and I say enter. Nothing is going to show up. It's just going to show another prompt. There's no error. That means something must have run successfully, right? So now if I print my market list now, you see, we have carrot, nosebook, carrot, water, biscuit has now been added. And when we declared it, we only have carrot, nosebook, carrot, water. But now biscuit has been added. And you see, in a list like this, when you create a collection like this, a list like this, it is always in order. That is, the order cannot be manipulated or anything. Carrot will always remain the first. Notebook will always remain the second. Carrot again is going to remain the third. Water is going to remain the fourth, and biscuit is now going to remain the fifth. So any other item you had is going to come in we always join in the last index. See this as your plate rack, right? It's always like first in, first out. You call it a FIFO or so, yeah, FIFO, FIFO, first in, first out. Or let's say you have in your plate rack, let me try and see if I can draw. Okay, yeah. Let's say you have I don't know if, yeah, let's do it this way. Yeah. Let's say this is your plate rack. You have one here. You have another one here. You have this thing here. You have this thing here. You can add to it and you can remove from it. It's also applicable to this kind of collection. Similarly to your plate rack, you can, and of course, okay, let me not go through that route. But just see this as like your plate rack that you can add to and you can remove from. And also, if it's, based on, there are some plate rack that you can, I don't know if you've seen a plate rack before. There are some wooden plate rack that you can just pick from any position. You can pick, let's say you have a plate here, you have another plate here, you have one here, you have one here. If this is the one you are interested in, you can just come to that position to, check it out and remove it and put it back. You can even change the plate you have in this position. So similarly in this particular one, there are a lot of manipulations you can do. Let me erase this. There are a lot of manipulations you can do. I've shown you how you can add to it, right? So you can also replace. Remember, I said I made a mistake here, right? We cannot have, what's the essence of having 2 carrots listed? So let me correct that and change it to, what should have been there? Market list, then. So if you want to change an item in a position, let's say I want to change carrot. I want to change this carrot now. And what is the position of that carrot? Anybody? What is the position of this carrot?
1.
2.
2.
2? 0, 1, 2. Yes, you're right. It's going to be 2. What I want to do now is to change what we have there. And to do that, this is the syntax. After you've called the variable holding, this is like market list is what is our collection itself, is what is storing the collection. So then I'm specifying that in the square bracket again, I'm saying the one in the 2 position, which will be pointing to what? Carrot. And I want to say, change the value there, assign another value to it. So I will have equal to, and now what can I put there? What can we replace that with? Cucumber. Oh, what am I don't know. Yeah, I think the spelling is correct. Yeah, so let's say cucumber. If I run this now, there's no error. Now, if I print my market list, oh, sorry. If I print my market list now, you see, we now have carrot, notebook, cucumber. What used to be carrot has now been changed to cucumber. Then you see the rest. So we're able to go into a certain position and change the value there. Now you see that we have more, what's it called? More freedom to do a lot of manipulations. Had it been we've had our market list as just one string value, all these manipulations would not be possible. or will be very hard to do. So I believe you know when to use this kind of collection, when to use this kind of collections now, like when to store things in collection. We have a lot of ways you can store values and data like that. We have another one called tuple, and we have also what we call map. So I think our time is almost up. It's even up already. So by next class, after we do revision by next class, sorry, correction of the assignment, and also continue with the rest. So there are two more topics after this in this particular slide. So which is tuple and map, which is another way you can store collections of items. Another way that Python allows us, and they all come with their advantages and disadvantages. I've shown you the disadvantages of this. There are scenarios where this may not be applicable, that you'd want to use another way of storing collections like this. But of course, most of the times, having a list like this will always come in handy for you. So you can start thinking of ways you can use this, like a program you may want to write that would include this. Yeah, I think that's how to think about this. When you learn about the topic, think of how you can use it to write something, or where you think you can use it, like a scenario where you can use it. So that is that about it. You can add it. I mean, you can also remove. Let me quickly do that. You can also remove market list dots. No, it's not even, you're not using the dots now. To remove entirely from, what's it called? To remove from it, you use the del function. No, you don't even, the del command. There's a del command in Python. It's not a function. It's just like just it as a command. Del. And what do we want to remove? We want to remove the one in, let's remove carrot, let's remove notebook. Let's remove notebook. They don't sell notebook in our supermarket. So of course, let's remove it from the thing. So I have to say market list, which is what is storing my collection. Remember, I want to specify the index of what I want to delete. Notebook is in, what will be the index of notebook?
1.
1. Okay. Delete market list, square brackets 1. Then I press enter. No error. Now let's print market list. You see, notebook is no longer inside. We now only have carrots, cucumber, water, and biscuits. And now the order has changed in the sense that we have carrot in the first position, cucumber is now in the second position. So now if I do market 1, it's going to give me what? If I print market 1, what's going to be the output? Sorry, market list 1. So what's going to be the output? Speak up.
Cucumber.
Okay, cucumber. Oh, I like your pronunciation. Okay, cucumber. So you see, because notebook has been removed, so the order has changed. We now have, and in this collection, we have 4 items now. 4 items now. And as part of the functions, remember I was talking about some inbuilt functions, right? There's now another function, just like your print and your inputs. There's another function called len, L-E-N. And what that one does is, its own work is to return the number of items in a collection. The number of items in a collection. So if I put len now, I want to call, like every function must have open and close parentheses like this. And I say market underscore list, and I close it. If I press enter now, it returns 4. That is, it returns the number of elements we have in our collection. And of course, it is 4. Carrots, cucumber, water, and biscuits. And this length even also works for string. If I put len and I say Chanel, it's going to return 9. How did we come about 9? because the number of characters that made up Janelle is 9 characters, 9 letters. Jacknelle. Everything made up 9. Everything, we have 9 letters, right? So we have 9 there. So this len function, now I've talked about 3 functions now. We've been using print. I've talked about more than 3 now, sir. I've talked about print. I've talked about input. You use input to get user input, to get something from the user for your code. Now I've talked about str, which is used to convert numbers to string. And another one I'm talking about now is the len function, len, which is used to return the count of items in a sequence. Remember what I said about string? I said string is a sequence of letters, characters, and number, or is a sequence of characters. And the characters can be either a number and everything like that. And now I'm saying a length is used to return the length of items in a sequence or in a collection. So if you have a list like this and a collection of items like this, and you want to know the number of items you have inside, you use the length function. And also, if you want to check the number of characters or the number of letters that made up your name or a string value, any string value, you also use this len function. It's going to give you the number of characters that you have there or the number of items you have there. So that's going to be where we're going to stop for today. I'll put the practice assignment, not like practice assignment, like an exercise just for this class. Time doesn't permit, but I'll just put it on the Google Classroom, just something for you to, like an appetizer in a way, like a snack. So the assignment is the food. The exercise I'm going to give you is like an appetizer, something to just, how do I put it now? Just like a snack, something to like a small chop. Yeah, small chop. So that will be the end for this session. Any question? Any doubt? Any question?
No.
Is it because our time? So you're clear with everything we'll talk about today?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So please, always the way you actually get to know these things properly. Most of it, from this explanation, I don't expect you to get it 100%. 100%. But when you try to solve, probably you've gotten like say 70% or 60%. But when you do hands-on, when you solve exercises, assignment the assignments I've given you and the ones I'm going to give you, and even like some exercises that will be chipping in, if you're able to solve them, that's how you get to even know what you understand. So please always attempt to solve the assignment and the exercises that will be given to you. And make sure the assignment I already gave you, make sure you do them and you submit early so that I can review it before even coming to the class. We just come to the class, we do a general correction without having to go through each and everyone's work. Do you get that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much. Appreciate you for your attentiveness. Do have a wonderful week.